Welcome back to the channel. Now, before we get into the start of today's video, I just want to say a quick thank you to all of the new subscribers which have joined the First 15 Rugby YouTube channel recently. I think over the last few days I've had more than 150 new subscribers joining the channel, which is a number I'm incredibly appreciative for. And I think that takes the total number of subscribers over 5,500 now, which is just absolutely mind-blowing. And I really do appreciate each and every one of you watching my videos. I mean, when I'm watching my videos back, editing, I can barely get to 30 seconds, or if I'm lucky, a minute into the video. So I really do appreciate the support I do receive, especially from all of the Irish contingent that watch my videos. You're by far the largest geographic that watch the videos, and I really do appreciate the support I do receive from you guys, both in likes and in the comment section down below. And yeah, much appreciated, guys. And yeah, thank you all for subscribing. Now, moving on to today's video, this will be the last video reviewing round 1 of the Six Nations. I'm going to be naming my team of the week. As always, let me know in the comment section down below, do you agree, do you disagree with my selection choices? And yeah, as always, we can have a healthy debate in the comment section down below. Please do leave why you think a player should be selected, not just the player's name, because that's the key part for discussion. Start off with the front row. I'm going to go for Pierre Schoeman, Dan Sheehan and Tadhg Furlong. Now, start off with Pierre Schoeman. He's one of the key Scottish players that takes the field. A very consistent performer. He actually doesn't get injured too often from what I remember. He's always in that Scotland scrum, and he's incredibly powerful. Managed to cross the whitewash against Wales, and a very powerful ball carrier, a very powerful scrummager, and especially from 1 metre out, he's incredibly difficult to stop. Such a powerful and explosive prop, which really shows in the way he plays, especially when the crowd, I think he'd shout "Scoo" when he carries the ball, especially when he's at Murrayfield, and he's a very entertaining figure as well. And then on the other side of the scrum, Tadhg Furlong. Now, the one area of Ireland's performance which wasn't incredibly brilliant in what was a very dominant performance against France was the scrum. The French front row were getting on top at certain points in the game, but I think Tadhg Furlong showing really good improvement in this game recently. I think he's getting back to his best. And on his day, there's not a tight head prop like him. The footwork he's got, the handling ability, as well as the nitty-gritty stuff you'd expect from him. He's really a forward which has definitely got it all. And when he's on his game, he's incredibly difficult to defend. Now, sandwiched in between them, we've got Dan Sheehan, one of the best hookers in the world. And he really did show his class and pedigree in the performance against France. I think we've got to remember, and it's important to remember, how new Dan Sheehan is to the the international scene. A few years ago, probably 3-4 years ago, I can't remember him playing. Now, that might just be bad memory on my part, but from what I remember, he's relatively new onto the circuit, and he's definitely taken the international game by storm. An incredibly mobile hooker, which is a very dangerous threat ball in hand, and not just through the power. He can beat you in many different ways, from footwork to the raw power game as well. So, brilliant player there. And then in the second rows, we've got an Irish contingent once more. We've got Joe McCarthy and Tadhg Beirne. Now, as always, I'm very happy to debate the selections in this team, but I'd be very surprised if people go for second rows other than these. Joe McCarthy, he's a player that has really sort of shot onto the international scene, been playing some brilliant stuff for Leinster, but good club form, moving that onto the international stage is not always the easiest thing, and some players really do struggle to do that, especially in the time frame he's done it. But he really used his size and athletic ability so well in this game, and he did not look out of his depth at all, and bagged himself a man of the match award away in France on the opening game of Six Nations. A sentence in which you probably wouldn't have expected, considering how difficult France is as a place to go and play rugby. I remember England, off the back of the World Cup in 2020, started the Six Nations over in France. I mean, remember Eddie Jones gave the big speech about, we're going to shock them with the physicality. And the exact opposite happened. France went 20 points up and the game was done. So very difficult place to go and play, especially physically. So Joe McCarthy in the engine room of the scrum really provided the sort of brute force in the game, as well as his technical line-out abilities that really stood Ireland in good stead. Then his partner in crime, Tadhg Beirne, just an unbelievably consistent performer for Ireland. He's brilliant for Munster so consistently, and he brings that form to Ireland every single time. Just so clinical in the breakdown, doesn't give away too many penalties, but does get a fair few turnovers. And then he took his try really well. Beautiful line run off of Jack Crowley. So yeah, brilliant performances by both of those two in the second rows. Moving on to the back row, I've gone for Ethan Root of England. I've gone for Tommy Reffell of Wales. And at number 8, this was where it was a real toss-up between Aaron Wainwright. Sorry, I need to get that one out. Especially if so many people are subscribing. I think I'm going to lose them if my pronunciations aren't up to scratch. Aaron Wainwright or Caelan Doris. I'm going to give it to Caelan Doris, not just because so many Irish people watch the videos, but because I think the consistency and number of involvements of Caelan Doris in the match was simply incredible. Although Wainwright had the most probably flashy moments of big ball carries, I think the consistency of Caelan Doris throughout the game was just brilliant. Not only is he class in defence, but he's such a big attacking threat, and not necessarily because of his size, but the way he moves his body. He's very fast. He can sort of spot gaps and position himself ready to exploit weaknesses in defences so quickly. So I guess that relates to his rugby IQ as well, being one of the best in the world. So Caelan Doris just about gets the nod for me at number 8. And then Roots for England on his England debut or international debut. I thought he was exceptional in an England team that really sort of struggled throughout the game. I thought he really stepped up, was very physical in attack, especially when he was sort of an edge forward. He made some good meters in the wide channel. And if England are going to go back to what they used to be, which is a big physical team, he's a sort of mould of player, if you like, which Steve Borthwick's going to have to start picking because very physical, and that's what you're going to need in the international game. He's a very raw player still. I mean, he's by no means a top international yet, and will take a long time to sort of warm into the international scene. And when we play this weekend against Wales, if he starts, I'm sure it's going to be an all different level of physicality as a whole. So we'll see how he goes in the next few weeks. And then Tommy Reffell, number 7. I think he was one of the main Welsh players, or especially in the first half, one of the only Welsh players that really turned up, and he carried that form through into the second half. His number of tackles he was putting in, the number of breakdown involvements, whether he was stealing a ball or not, he was still in the breakdown, slowing up and disrupting Scottish ball. If only Wales in the first half had another 3 or 4 of him on the field, they would have been in a good place, but unfortunately they didn't, and just narrowly lost in the game. But good performance from Tommy Reffell despite that. And then moving into the back line, I've got Jamison Gibson-Park and Jack Crowley. Two really good performances here. Jamison Gibson-Park, his running game, kicking game, and everything really is quite hard to pick holes in. I think the way he gets off the base of the scrum is phenomenal, especially off the back of rucks as well. The way he set up his own try, really taking that ball out to Bundyaki, really nice inside support line, received the return ball and went under the sticks, which was a really important moment in the game against France. Real statement that Ireland are here to win and not just to turn up and get a runners-up medal. So really good performance from Jamison Gibson-Park. I think it actually complements him having James Lowe in the team. It takes a lot of pressure off of his box kicking and allows him to really flourish in the other areas of his game. Obviously, if he needs to box kick, he can do, but I think that really does sort of alleviate some pressure on him. And we talk about pressure. Jack Crowley was a man under a huge amount of pressure in this game. Obviously, Sexton exiting the Irish squad after an incredible career. He steps in, the spotlight turns to him, and Jack, how can you do? And he certainly did turn up off the tee, off of any in-hand kick. I think he had one wobbly kick as a sort of a crossfield kick, but apart from that, he'd never let that fluster him, and he went on to perform really well. I saw in Andy Farrell's post-match interview, he said Jack Crowley made some really good decisions, but he also made some sort of substantial errors. So I'm not quite sure what Andy Farrell, as opposed to the crossfield kick, I'm not sure what else he was referring to. I might have to go watch the highlights back or watch the game a bit back, but maybe that's just Andy Farrell doing what any head coach would do and always wanting more from his players, which I guess you can't blame him for. Now, moving on to the inside centre and the outside centre, I've gone for Tommaso Melancello at 12, and at 13 I've gone for Robbie Henshaw. Now, Melancello I think was exceptional in the England game. Although Italy did disappear for sort of 45 minutes of the 80-minute game, he was a real threat throughout. Really caused England massive problems in that midfield, especially when England were sort of implying this real hard rush defence. He was one of the players which could offload around the back of it, or at least truck the ball up to really put a dent in England's defence. And not only is he very powerful, he's quite an elusive runner, quite hard to bring down. So he was instrumental in Italy, putting on a very good performance. Now we've got Robbie Henshaw, a player which probably didn't have his best game, but the involvements he did had were very, very impactful. I think his offload to Caelan Doris, which then put Calvin Nash in the corner, was a big moment for Ireland. And defensively, I thought he was good. And I think it's going to take him a few more games to get really in the swing of things and find his sort of old form. But really good, solid performance from Robbie Henshaw. And moving on to the back three, we've got James Lowe. And then we've got Duhan van der Merwe. And then at fullback, we've got Hugo Keenan. So I'm going to start off with James Lowe. I've sort of briefly touched upon him when speaking about Jamieson Gibson Park, but his left boot is just a thing of beauty. I feel like I'm repeating myself when speaking about it, but the importance of his role within the team cannot be undermined. Although not everything he does is flashy, it's those little intricacies that just separate you from being a good international to a world-class player. So fair play to James Lowe there. And him defensively as well, he's so powerful. He's sort of got the power of a back rower in some of his collisions. I remember in the World Cup against South Africa, his tackle, I think it was on Ebenezer, just completely lifted him up and then got the turnover for them all. So a very powerful player is James Lowe, and he's a brilliant addition to that Irish team. And on the other wing, Duhan van der Merwe, just an incredible Scottish rugby player, an absolutely brilliant player. He's really powerful. He's got the full bag really in terms of his attacking play. He's good in the air. He's very powerful and strong when he runs, and he's got good high end speed as well. He took his try from the offload from Finn Russell really well and showed good high end speed to get round. I think it was Tomoso Williams, who's no slouch. I know he's not a winger, but he's no slouch of a scrum half. Managed to beat him to the corner post to score. So brilliant stuff from Duhan van der Merwe. And it'll be interesting to see how Andy Farrell selects his Lions squad. Does he go for someone like Duhan van der Merwe? You'd probably expect so, at least to be in the squad, maybe not the starting team, but brilliant performance from him. And then at the fullback, the sort of glue to the whole team, Hugo Keenan. A relatively quiet performance from Keenan, but the involvements he did have, once again, were very, very good. And I think as a fullback, one thing you can say is if you don't notice them in a game, they've done well. That means that they've covered the backfield well, they've been solid under the high ball, and those were the two main key things that he did in this game. And in such a pressurised position, with France being such good sort of strikers of the ball, they love to go to the air. He really sort of took down the air raid from France, and it was just phenomenal in the way that he sort of calmed everything down and took the chances when they were on offer, in terms of his kick replies, as well as knowing when to run the ball up and sort of initiate an attack from the back for Ireland. So brilliant performances all over the park. In terms of sort of man of the Six Nations round one, you're probably going to look at someone like Joe McCarthy, maybe Jack Crowley, probably Joe McCarthy. I think that just the dominance of Ireland against that French team, in which was a result which was probably the least expected of all of the results this weekend, was something to definitely write home about. So that is my team of the week. As always, please let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Who would you change and why? And I'll read all the comments as always. But thank you very much for watching.